The city breathed with the hum of office lights and distant traffic. Adrian Hayes sat at his desk, the glow of his monitor painting his face a pale blue. His shoulders held a permanent slump, a familiar ache from hours spent in the same chair. He was the last to leave always. The work never seemed to end. A change, subtle as a shift in the air conditioning, had begun some weeks ago. It started after a company retreat where his supervisor, Marcus Thorne, had, in a state of impressive inebriation, required a ride home. Adrian, unable to refuse, had driven him. Since then, the tide of extra tasks colleagues pushed his way would mysteriously ebb whenever Marcus's polished dress shoes clicked past his cubicle at 6 o'clock sharp. The man would offer a dry comment, a raised eyebrow, and the offending paperwork would vanish. Department-wide overtime notices would somehow skip his inbox. Adrian chose not to examine this anomaly too closely. He simply gathered his things and left on time. Stepping into the chill of the evening, he heard it. A voice, light and clear, cutting through the urban murmur. "Honey." His spine stiffened. Looking up, he saw a figure leaning against a sleek, dark car, waving. Ellis, his spouse. Even in the fading light, Ellis was arresting. A cascade of auburn hair framed features that were both delicate and striking. A smile that seemed to hold its own warmth. This was their routine, established before Adrian took this job. Ellis would pick him up. Every day. He approached, words caught in his throat, and was immediately enveloped in an embrace. "Did you miss me today?" The question was murmured against his ear, accompanied by the scent of sandalwood and rain. Adrian rested his chin on Ellis's shoulder, the wool of Ellis's coat soft against his skin. His reply was a whisper. "Yes. Good." Ellis's laugh was a soft chime. A kiss, feather-light, grazed his temple. "So good for me." A tremor, involuntary, ran through him. Ellis felt it, and the resulting smile was brilliant, knowing. Their home was a quiet townhouse in a renovated neighborhood. Upstairs, the bedroom was precisely as he'd left it. Yet, standing in its center under the harsh glare of the overhead light, Adrian felt a suffocating dread. This room, this very space, according to the inexplicable narrative that had flooded his mind after a fall last week, was destined to become a stage. Here, his beautiful spouse and his polished supervisor would act out a clandestine drama. Threats would be uttered in low tones. Compliance would be given to protect a hapless husband's job. And he, Adrian, with his lifelong talent for looking away, would pretend to see nothing. The climax of that internal story was a moment of uncharacteristic resolve. A plan to flee the city, met only with gentle, regretful words from Ellis. "Honey, I think we should get a divorce." The reason? Ellis would have fallen in love with Marcus Thorne. Adrian had learned all this because the tumble had apparently jolted loose the truth of his existence. He lived inside a romance novel. He played the part of the meek, unremarkable husband to a dazzling wife. Ellis was the heroine. Marcus was the inevitable love interest. The plot was a tired dance of power and seduction, with Adrian's character destined to fade into the background, left with nothing but the hollow shell of a house and a lifetime of solitude. "Adrian?" The voice pulled him from the spiraling thoughts. Ellis stood in the doorway, leaning against the frame, clad in a soft cashmere sweater and jeans. "Do you love me?" Adrian turned. The question hung in the air. He took an involuntary step back, the difference in their heights suddenly pronounced. At 5'9", he felt diminutive next to Ellis's 6'1" frame. Ellis stepped forward, smile unwavering. "Well, do you?" Air grew thin. It wasn't affection tightening his chest, but a sharp, familiar anxiety. I do. Is that so?" Ellis's gaze was intent, expectant. Adrian's mouth was dry. The story he'd inherited felt true in every grim detail but one. A fundamental, staggering divergence. The beautiful wife, the story's heroine, was not a woman. Ellis closed the distance. Why so quiet? Shy again? Adrian's own hair, perpetually too long, fell across his eyes, adding to his air of subdued gloom. People often wondered what a vibrant person like Ellis saw in someone so ordinary. They'd ask for his secret. He never had an answer. After 2 years of marriage, he still couldn't relax fully in Ellis's presence. Not even now. Do you not love me anymore? Ellis pressed, coming closer still. Retreating, Adrian felt the edge of the bed behind his knees. Just as he began to topple backward, Ellis caught his wrist. The hair was brushed from Adrian's eyes, forcing him to meet that luminous, intent gaze. His breath hitched as Ellis leaned down, their lips meeting. It was a tender, possessive kiss. "You're not being very good for me, are you?" Ellis murmured, pulling him close. Body heat seeped through thin layers of fabric. "I love you so much. Why won't you learn, sweetheart?" The light seemed to dim as Ellis kissed his closed eyelids. Adrian's lashes fluttered wildly. "Please." The word escaped, choked and thin. It seemed to ignite something. Ellis breathed his name against his skin, a litany of devotion and desperate need. "I love you. I'd lose my mind without you. Please have mercy on me." Yet, it was Adrian who was gently guided down onto the bed, his soft pleas ignored. Ellis nipped at his earlobe, kissed the sweat from his neck, whispered praises about his beauty. Adrian shuddered, lost. Who could possibly guess? He bit down on the corner of a pillow, silent tears tracing his temples. "Just be good for me," Ellis rasped, voice rough with emotion. Adrian didn't understand how they'd arrived here. 2 years ago, when they'd first gotten together, Ellis had been different. Shy, almost hesitant. There were blushes, stolen kisses that Ellis would fret over for hours, gentle teasing about Adrian being a lovable fool. That Ellis had been bright and open, the idealized first love from every teenage dream. Adrian had fallen completely. They'd married in a whirlwind. But 6 months in, his life had begun to constrict. Ellis's presence was inescapable. Coming home to a house dotted with discreet security cameras, his every movement monitored. Even at work, he was expected to keep a video call open. He was under surveillance, and his pliant nature offered no resistance. Besides, he loved Ellis. He must have. Otherwise, he would have left on their wedding night, when the truth of Ellis's identity was revealed not with words, but with startling, gentle force. He hadn't left. His boundaries had eroded, one sweetly uttered endearment at a time. Ellis, paradoxically, adored this submission. He documented Adrian's every expression. A year into the marriage, the control escalated. A sleek leather collar, cool and supple, was fastened around Adrian's neck. "What are you doing?" Adrian had asked, voice trembling. "This isn't funny. Let me go." Ellis had simply traced the line of his jaw, eyes dark with a love that bordered on obsession. "Don't you like it? I love you like this. Why can't you just be good?" The words were a low, unsettling hum. "I'm so in love with you." Cool fingers tilted Adrian's chin up. He wanted to beg, to reason, but darkness claimed him before any agreement was reached. A full week of confinement followed. Time lost meaning. In the silent, controlled space, a terrible thought took root. If it were possible, with the frequency of Ellis's attentions, he might have ended up carrying a child. The idea was suffocating. So he ran. On their first anniversary, Ellis, perhaps lulled by recent compliance, had removed the collar. They'd gone to a county fair, a wish Adrian had once mentioned from his impoverished, lonely childhood. Ellis was overflowing with the desire to heal those old wounds. Adrian used that generosity as his chance. While Ellis bought cotton candy, he melted into the crowd. He borrowed money from an old acquaintance and hid in a crowded boarding house, surviving on cheap noodles and fear. The boldness was foreign to him. As the days passed, the careful health Ellis had nurtured drained away. He spent those 2 weeks turning the problem over in his mind. He was not a clever man. Getting through college and landing a decent job had exhausted his lifetime's allotment of luck. The from one of Ellis's friends at their wedding echoed, "People from different worlds don't last." He'd never understood why someone like Ellis, confident, radiant from a world of ease, would choose someone as meek and unexceptional as himself. The door to his tiny room had opened. Ellis stood there, surveying the dismal space with a cold, furious eye. Dressed in masculine clothing, dark jeans, and a simple shirt, he looked every inch the privileged scion. "You ran away to live here?" Ellis's voice was deceptively soft. "Was I that lacking? That you'd choose this over me?" Adrian, sitting on the narrow bed, felt a strange calm. "Let's get a divorce." He wasn't clever, but he was tired. He woke later with a weight on his chest. Ellis was asleep there, face pressed against him, exhaustion evident. Adrian watched him, heart pounding a conflicted rhythm. His finger rose, almost of its own volition, to brush Ellis's cheekbone. Even now, knowing the torment, he loved him. Loved the vibrant, smiling person Ellis could be. That version was sunlight to him. But he could not go back to the dark. The confinement had awakened old ghosts. Memories of being locked in a cramped closet as a child for failing to perform cheerful gratitude for prospective adoptive parents. That deep, animal fear of the dark and of enclosed spaces had returned, and somehow it had become tangled with Ellis himself. "Adrian." Ellis stirred, and before Adrian could focus, soft kisses were pressed to his eyelids. "You're crying." He was. Tears he hadn't felt were streaming down his face. "Don't," he managed, voice thick. "Don't lock me up again. Please, Ellis." Ellis froze, then a flurry of kisses followed, frantic and apologetic. "I won't. I promise I won't." He swore it over and over. The word divorce was not mentioned again. But the need for control didn't vanish. It mutated. Adrian, in a bid for peace, quit his job and found another closer to home, agreeing to let Ellis drive him every day. A fragile, monitored normalcy descended. Now, in their second year of marriage, that control was still a constant presence. And the plot from the novel hung over him, a sword of Damocles. For a week, Ellis's intensity had been tempered, almost careful. Adrian didn't understand why until Monday evening. Exiting the office building, he saw them. Ellis and Marcus Thorne, deep in conversation by the fountain in the plaza. They looked harmonious. The scene aligned perfectly with a chapter from his mind. The beautiful spouse and the charming superior, their illicit connection blooming. He stood frozen. The imagined dialogue played in his head. Picking him up again? "I've never understood what you see in someone so gloomy." And Ellis's reply, cool and detached. "He's probably still in the elevator." Then the invitation. "Won't you come up for a drink?" Adrian. Ellis had noticed him. The smile was there, but it felt different. Distant. Clutching his briefcase, a fragile hope sparked. What if it was all a delusion? He walked toward them, and as he did, Marcus's eyes flicked to Ellis. The look there was one of pure, covetous appreciation. It stole the air from Adrian's lungs. Somehow, he ended up in the back seat of Marcus's luxury sedan. The drive was a blur of polite conversation from the front seats. He felt like a shadow, his worn suit and slumped posture utterly out of place beside their easy confidence. The narrative frames flashed behind his eyes, each one a hammer blow to his heart. At their townhouse, as Adrian moved to bid Marcus goodnight, Ellis spoke. "Would you like to come up? For a coffee?" The invitation was casual, devastating. "I'd love to," Marcus replied. The elevator ride was agony. His reflection in the polished doors showed a man shrinking into himself. He reached for Ellis's hand, needing an anchor. His fingers were gently, subtly, avoided. In the living room, Ellis called him back to the present. He turned, his desolation plain on his face. Marcus observed from the sofa, an audience of one. Adrian felt like a derailed train car, finally shoved aside so the main engine could speed on. Dinner was a silent torture. Marcus stayed. Ellis, who normally treated their home as an inviolable sanctuary, showed no sign of objecting. Adrian sat at the table long after the meal was done, pushing food around his plate. The sound of footsteps. The two of them entered the kitchen together. The door clicked shut softly. He was an outsider in his own home. After an eternity, he stood. Through the kitchen door's window, he saw them under the warm pendant light. Marcus was smiling, saying something. Ellis listened, a faint curve to his lips. The sight triggered a memory. Him washing dishes, Ellis wrapping arms around his waist, nibbling his ear, complaining that Adrian was terrible with words, that he'd have to say "I love you" enough for both of them. He and Marcus were opposites in every way. The choice was obvious even to him. So awful, he thought. A tear fell, then another, splashing silently on the polished hardwood. The ceiling light was merciless, exposing every flaw, every insecurity. He was a stray dog, huddled at the threshold of a warmth he could never fully enter. That night, he lay alone in the quiet bedroom, sleepless. He tried, in small ways, to disrupt the pattern he foresaw. Each attempt was met with a cool, detached look from Ellis, a gaze so foreign it made his heart stutter. He was a clown, stumbling into the path of the main event. When the company memo about a week-long business trip to a conference in Chicago appeared, it felt like a reprieve. Sitting at his desk, he stared at his phone. After a long hesitation, he typed a message to the contact saved as Ellis. "Have to go to Chicago for a week for work. Packing now. Don't worry." He sent it, turned off his screen, and followed his colleagues to the waiting cab. The conference was a droning affair. On the last night, a younger colleague announced he'd booked a table at a popular lounge to unwind. The group, shrugging, agreed. Adrian had never been in such a place. Strobing lights, pounding bass, a crush of bodies. He kept his suit jacket on, feeling absurdly formal. When they were seated, good-natured teasing began. "Come on, Adrian, loosen up. Lose the tie. Your wife will get bored if you're this stiff all the time." The mention of Ellis was a direct hit. Would she? He heard himself ask quietly, even if she did, it wouldn't be because of a tie. Someone handed him a strong drink. Another, emboldened by the atmosphere and Adrian's passivity, reached over and loosened his collar. The touch was wrong, but the alcohol blurred the edges. For a hallucinatory second, he thought it was Ellis and grasped the wrist. It was pulled away. He began to cry, soundless in the din. Fingers fumbled with the buttons of his shirt. A voice, too close, slurred. "Hey, you've got really pretty eyes." He was floating, disconnected. He came to with a gasp, his body pinned, a furious, possessive mouth claiming his. He struggled, turning his head away. "Look at me." The voice was a guttural snarl, but the face above him was Ellis's, etched with a fury so profound it was terrifying. For a disorienting moment, he thought it a cruel dream. Ellis was supposed to be with Marcus. The cold, familiar click of a lock dispelled that hope. His body went rigid. "You," Ellis bit out, teeth scraping his collarbone, not quite breaking skin. "You are not being good. Not at all." The words were kissed into his skin, a violent contrast to their tender delivery. "You need to be reminded." The following days were a relentless reassertion of ownership. The name Adrian fell away, replaced by that older, more potent sweetheart. He was surrounded, consumed. When he finally gathered the courage to push back, Ellis simply pulled him back, the need for control now a frantic, palpable thing. He didn't know what had triggered this regression. He tried to ask, but was only met with the anxious, repeated question, "Do you love me?" He answered every time, "Yes, I love you." Finally, after countless affirmations, Ellis seemed to settle, curling against him like a sated predator. Ellis murmured, playing with his fingers, "I followed you. I was on your flight. I sat right behind you. I watched you sleep. The tone darkened. And then I got a text. Just for a moment. When I looked up, you were gone. Ellis's eyes were black pools. When I found you, in that place with those hands on you, a shudder ran through the body pressed against his. If I had been any later, you wouldn't be mine anymore. Adrian stared, a chill seeping into his bones. The memories of Ellis and Marcus, their easy rapport, their shared smiles mocked him. Days ago, Ellis had been a stranger, coldly watching him unravel. Now he was this desperate, clinging creature. He opened his mouth, but no sound came. His silence seemed to frighten Ellis. Ellis searched his face, emotions flitting too fast to decipher. Then, Ellis gave a soft, broken laugh and pressed an apologetic kiss to the mark on his collarbone. Maybe it was that renewed, desperate possession that gave him a sliver of courage. Or maybe even a beaten dog, in the end, wants to know why it's being discarded. His voice trembled. What is going on with you and Marcus? Ellis went very still. The beautiful face was unreadable, a mask of complicated, painful things. The silence was an answer in itself. The ache in Adrian's chest sharpened. He was a man who let go of things he couldn't hold. But he had never been able to let go of Ellis. Until now. We should get a divorce. The words left him, and to his surprise, there was no devastating pain. Just a vast, hollow emptiness. Ellis jerked as if struck. The confident posture crumbled. What? It was a breathless, disbelieving whisper. No, we promised. We said we wouldn't talk about that again. You broke the promise first, Adrian said, his voice quiet as dust. You want this. You want me gone so you can be with him. It's fine. It makes sense. I'm just in the way. He laid it out calmly, the fate of a minor character. You'll get used to me being gone. It'll be better. Before he could finish, a warm drop hit the back of his hand. Then another. Looking up, he saw Ellis's eyes, brimming, tears tracking silently down his cheeks. The expression was one of raw, wounded defiance. Don't, Ellis mouthed, the sound barely there. Please don't do this. The lips formed words with painful slowness. It's not what you think. I was scared. Scared you'd disappear. I love you. The silent confession, the heat of the tears on his skin, cracked something open inside Adrian. He stared, breathless, tracing the lines of anguish on Ellis's face. A voice in his mind, weak but persistent, urged him to trust, to love just a little more, even if the ending was still uncertain. From the hotel, they left everything behind. They bought 2 one-way tickets to a coastal town in Maine, a place of gray rocks and endless ocean. 3 years passed in a quiet, sun-dappled peace. The specter of Marcus Thorne was never invoked. Then, on a drizzly afternoon, Ellis's phone rang. A long conversation, hushed and serious, followed. A meeting was arranged. In a quiet cafe overlooking the harbor, Marcus Thorne found them. He was still impeccably put together, but the predatory glint was gone from his eyes when he looked at Ellis. There was only a weary acceptance. It took me some time to sort through the legalities, Marcus began, addressing Adrian directly. But I owed you both an explanation. He spoke of narratives and constructs, of a story penned by some indifferent author that had somehow gained the weight of reality. Its main characters were born with destinies pre-written. They were to fall in love. But when a world becomes real, its inhabitants sometimes wake up. They develop wills of their own. However, the story's framework remained, a powerful current trying to pull them back into its flow. The character with the most central role, Ellis, had the least freedom to resist. To deviate risked the story collapsing, and in that collapse, elements that didn't fit the intended plot could be erased. Characters like Adrian. So a performance began. A costly, agonizing charade where Ellis and Marcus played their assigned parts, following the beats of meetings, flirtations, and invitations, all to satisfy the narrative's hunger and protect the one person Ellis truly loved from being ed out of existence. "He loves you a great deal," Marcus said finally, standing to leave. He offered a genuine, if tired, smile. "I wish you both every happiness." "Thank you," Adrian replied. After the cafe door closed behind Marcus, Adrian turned to Ellis. The rain had stopped, and weak sunlight filtered through the clouds. "You never told him about who you really are." Ellis pretended not to hear, focusing on stirring his coffee. Outside, Ellis opened a large black umbrella, creating a private canopy that shrouded them both as they walked along the wet sidewalk. The world was reduced to the sound of their footsteps and the drip of water from the eaves. Adrian spoke softly. "I've been thinking about a different ending for that old book." Ellis leaned closer, a spark of familiar, wicked delight in his eyes. "Oh, do tell." "The husband doesn't stay alone in the empty house. He finds a way to keep what's his. Permanently." A slow, radiant smile spread across Ellis's face. "I like that," came the murmured reply. "I know just the sort of chain that would work. Something strong, but beautiful. To make sure I never wander." The afternoon light grew stronger, chasing away the last of the gloom. Somewhere, in the imagination of a world that no longer bound them, a heavy, outdated book lay forgotten. Its final page, once depicting a lonely figure in a silent house, was now rewritten. The figure still stood in the house at sunset, but then he walked to a hidden door, opened it, and in the soft light within, bent to kiss the exquisite, contented features of the one he had, against all odds, learned to keep.